It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Tired of lines at the boat launch, sun damage, or not using your boat because of the hassle? Call Meridian Marina and Yacht Club because we do all the work so you can enjoy your boating lifestyle. We store your boat inside, launch it with a wash with just 30 minutes notice, and rinse it down before putting it back. We do the work so you can enjoy your day on the water. Call us up at 772-221-8198 or visit us online at meridianmarina.com for more information. I'd also like to remind everybody you can sign up for a weekly notification of who will be the special guest in the studio. You can do that at my website, thecaseyingramshow.com. If you don't see that email, check your spam. Sometimes it ends up there. And finally, Stewart Downtown Auctions. Love auctions? So do we. Auctions are a great way to get a good deal and see items that you never knew you even wanted. Come explore our inventory of estate items and bid on treasure and leave with a fun memory. When you're serious about selling, so are we. Associate Auctions and Stewart Downtown Auction provide a complete solution to real estate and personal property assets throughout the Treasure Coast. Real auctions, real results. Associate Auctions and Stewart Downtown Auction with Casey Daniels, Auctioneer. You can reach Casey at 772-291-2806. That's 291-2806. Well, for the first half in the studio this evening, I'm very glad to have a much repeated guest, Nyla Pipes with One Florida Foundation. How are you doing this evening, Nyla?
I am so glad to be back here with you.
We are too, because we have had a lot of hurricanes, tropical storms coming through here that have produced a lot of rain, and we're all worried and have realized that Lake Okeechobee is rising, and, here it comes again, discharges to our estuaries. So, Nyla, with One Florida Foundation, you watch the water issues that have for a very long time here in the area, as well as throughout Florida. So tell us, what is the current state of Lake Okeechobee?
So today we sit at 16.41 feet. It's a lot higher than we'd like it to be.
And when do they discharge?
Well, we are right now. So out the St. Lucie River right now, we're getting 1,600 cubic feet per second. On the Caloosahatchee side, they get a lot more because they're a lot larger river. So they have a lot more conveyance, capability.
Right.
They're getting 4,100 cubic feet per second. 1,820 cubic feet per second are being lost through evapotranspiration, otherwise known as evaporation.
Right.
That's
a new term to me.
in human speak, right? I tease the people at the district and the Corps. I'm like, can't we just speak the way humans speak?
We all know what evaporation is.
Right. So that's the, good news is that evaporation. The bad news is what's coming in from the north is 4,510 cubic feet per second.
Wow.
And we have zero going south because the southern portion of the entire Everglades, everything south of the lake, is absolutely inundated, and it's causing all kinds of problems. And this is, unfortunately, wash, rinse, repeat. We've been here before. We will be here again until we get some of these solutions online. And one of the number one things that I've talked about for years now is our need to handle what's coming in from the north.
Well, you just pointed out the vast majority of that water, what is coming in from the north. I don't think people realize how much flows into the lake, and then we need to realize what to do with it. When it rains, we have a huge water system in South Florida, but when it rains, it fills it all up. Yep. Everywhere. South of here, everywhere. The canals fill, so they don't have the ability to discharge into canals, because we may flood Wellington, we may flood other areas. So it's a huge issue.
Absolutely. So the urban environment takes up the capacity, the ability to put more water into the canals first, right? Because they're most adjacent, and that's what those canals are for. So the major canals, the Hillsborough, the New River, all of those canals to the south of us, they are only capable of being utilized when that urban environment that's flooded isn't inundating it. And so we had a really bad situation with Hurricane Eta or tropical storm. I don't remember which it was when it hit us.
We've had so many. It's a record number this year. So.
But so with Etta, at the very tail end of a very wet season and a very wet October, we were also facing the king tides.
Right.
So Fort Lauderdale was incredibly flooded. The streets of Fort Lauderdale, people's homes were, the water was just really high. You can't put more water into an already sopping wet sponge. That's what I explain to people. Or another term would be like saying you can't put more water in an already full swimming pool. What happens to your swimming pool, right? It just overflows.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what's happening to the south of us right now. And it hurts the urban environment, but it also hurts the natural environment. And a lot of the time we like to think of the Everglades as Everglades National Park, south of the Tamiami Trail. But we're not giving due justice to the real Everglades, which start from Orlando and head south all the way to Florida Bay. And the central Everglades, the water conservation areas, the stormwater treatment areas. Right now, all of that is beyond capacity. There's nowhere to put the water. And the indigenous people, the Miccosukee and the Seminole tribes, they can't utilize their lands the way they're supposed to, the way they have done generationally. It is no exaggeration to say right now, Tamiami Trail has water lapping at the pavement. Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
It's just full.
And they even opened up some of the canals under the Tamiami Trail. So even with that, this is how much water is in the system.
It just fills up so much faster than you can get it to move, right? And you have to consider that Florida is very flat.
Right.
And it's very porous. And so when it's saturated, that's why I use the sponge analogy. You just can't get it to go where it needs to go when it's this wet, which is why we end up with these releases from the lake down our estuary here at the local level.
So talk a little bit north of the lake. I know that they were putting oxbows back in. Have they been completely restored? Where is that project standing?
So the Kissimmee River Restoration Project is a very important project, but we can only do the middle third because of flood control purposes and the fact that we as human beings moved in at the headwaters, Osceola County, Orange County, that southern portion right around Disney World. And then again, some of the development that has happened just to the direct north of the lake as well. So they're restoring the middle third of the Kissimmee. They're putting those oxbows back in. We are down to the very last portion of that restoration. So we should be expecting, a ribbon cutting and a celebration. And once they do that, within this next year, there will be some more inundation of the floodplain that's allowed, but it's simply not enough, which is why we have to really focus on the Lake Okeechobee Watershed Restoration Project. And particularly, and they're controversial, I know they're controversial, but particularly the ASR wells, because that's where we get the biggest bang for our buck. And that's where we're going to be able to...
Aquifer Storage Recovery, ASR, correct?
Yes. Sorry, thanks.
It's okay. It's okay. All these acronyms.
I'm just as bad as everyone else. I speak the language.
It's putting the water down below the ground. You can explain what they are.
Yes. Yeah. So aquifer storage and recovery wells is different, first of all, than deep well injection, which also, in my opinion, has its role. But today we're talking about ASR wells. Aquifer storage and recovery, which means that you can put the water, surface water from like the Kissimmee River or Lake O down, and it will go into the aquifer, help recharge that aquifer, which we have, too many straws in making withdrawals every day. And then, store it down there until we need to put it back if we end up in a drought situation or we have, a need in a municipal situation, something of that nature. There is cleansing before it goes down. There is actually natural cleansing that occurs within the aquifer itself. And there is more cleansing when it comes back out. So it's not going to just go from the Kissimmee River right to your tap. And I think that that's one of the things that people need to know. It's not as scary as it sounds. And in fact, wells have been being used to recharge the aquifer in Florida for 100 plus years. A lot of people don't realize this. There are actually just stormwater wells that drain directly to the aquifer in Orlando. They're all over the place. And they've had very few problems with them. So I understand people's concern. They go, oh, gosh, yeah, we don't want to pollute our drinking water. But we need to consider that what we're talking about primarily is nitrogen and phosphorus, which are natural elements within the ecosystem to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that we do on both ends of that process to make sure that human beings and our drinking water is safe.
And we have to realize, too, there are times where there will be a drought. So to be able to access water is extremely important. Where right now we're just discharging out into the ocean.
Funny you should talk about drought. In May, we had a very, very prolonged drought. And a lot of people don't realize that. They don't pay much attention unless they're water nerds like me. But in May 17th, in fact, Lake Okeechobee was at 11 feet. So in 6 months' time, we've gone from 11 feet to 16.41 feet. I mean, it's astounding how fast the lake can rise. But the drought has its own problems. So when we drive Lake Okeechobee too low, it causes the marshes to not have the water that they need in the lake. It kills that littoral zone. The littoral zone has, it's supposed to be marshy. It's supposed to have marsh vegetation that filters. And what happens if the lake's too low too long is woody vegetation takes over. And that, of course, causes a cascade effect where the fish don't spawn and the lake doesn't act the way it's supposed to. Those sorts of things happen throughout the greater Everglades system. So if we don't have enough lake water to send south during the dry times, then we end up with an Everglades that is dry during the wet season. That's not normal either, and it's not the way Mother Nature was supposed to work. Yes, the Everglades is fire dependent, but those fires typically occurred, at the tail end of the dry season, just as we headed into the wet season. Lightning strikes would start them, those sorts of things. And so Florida's ecosystems really balance on a knife's edge between too much and too little water, and they always have, but we've very definitely exacerbated that effect with human uses and moving in.
Of course. And Dave Hafner, see you're tuning in. It's always good to have you tune in. This was just an interesting statistic from last Friday that 27.1 billion gallons of water have poured into the St. Lucie Lock and Dam since the start of the discharges this year, and that's enough to cover the city of Stewart with 16 feet of water.
I know, it's awful.
It's a tremendous amount. We have to really think about all this. Nyla, for storage north of the lake, what kind of projects are there? Anything proposed yet? I know that this is a conversation, and I'm going to give you a great deal of credit because back in 2013, when you and I traveled up to Washington, D.C., you couldn't talk about north and storage of water north of the lake. It was almost a dirty conversation, so to
taboo
speak.
A little bit, yeah.
And now it is a conversation. Everybody's saying, yes, we also need storage north of the lake. So has the conversation moved forward where there's some actual talk of projects?
So the Lake Okeechobee Watershed Restoration Project actually was started in the past and then sort of tabled because people couldn't agree on it. Within that project, which is now a current project again and is going to need support in DC to get it into the Water Resources Redevelopment Act, WRDA, within that project, we've got a attenuated wetland feature, which will provide some storage. And there's also another feature that is a more like a reservoir. That one's a little bit touchy because it is situated sort of northwest side of the lake, and some of the landowners don't like it. The Seminole tribe's not on board with it. So that portion of the Lake Okeechobee Watershed Restoration Project is a little bit it's not without its own controversy. And then, of course, the ASR wells, which I just spoke about. And Miss Terry Bates, she was the director of water resources at South Florida Water Management District for over 15 years. She's someone I very much respect. I've worked with her for a number of years. Recently retired, but she just wrote an op-ed that's really good, an editorial piece about the ASR wells. And she says that they will curb over 70% of releases to the estuaries. And I've seen other presentations that come up with those same numbers. And so
it's incredible.
Like it or not, that's why I push on that particular portion of it. Outside of Lake Okeechobee Watershed Restoration Project, there are, of course, water farming, dispersed water management projects that will help some. We need to do more at the headwaters. We need to conserve more land. We need to make sure that we are putting water back on the land where we can. We also have to be aware that the lands north of the lake don't work the same way as they do south of the lake because of soil composition. So putting more water on the land for storage purposes up there is a little more challenging than it is. The That's part of why the ASR wells became a part of the conversation.
And the ASR wells, I'm going to just talk about that a little bit more. There's certain places they work really well. And if I recall, it's been a few years, the South Florida Water Management District had identified a certain amount around the lake of areas that they thought would be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them are, but they're able to test the soil and kind of tell where one should work and where it shouldn't. And they already, as you said, they already utilize ASR technology south of us.
Absolutely. And so 80 wells is what the current plan calls for. And we have always had ASR wells as a part of comprehensive Everglades restoration. A lot of people don't realize that. It's always been a part of the plan. This is nothing new. We knew we would get to a spot where we'd have to look at them seriously and evaluate how they work and if they're feasible. And what they're doing now is they are working slowly but surely toward identifying that. So it's not like a blanket statement, ASR wells all work. It's more a case of ASR wells work in certain places with certain amounts of water put down at certain times with certain soil composition. And oh, by the way, a lot of science that has to go beside that. And I'm encouraged because between the Water Management District, the people at the Army Corps, and a whole lot of scientists, I mean, this is a peer-reviewed scientist situation. They are studying and they are planning to move forward at a slow, measured pace to make sure that what we're doing is working. And really, when you talk about the environment, that's really the only way we can do these things, right?
It is. You have to make sure it's working. And the ASRs are very similar to the water farms. For example, we have Calkins Water Farm here in Martin County. It's an old farmland where they are diverting water from the C-44 canal into the farmland, and it sifts through the sand, and it actually goes back down to the aquifer. It gets
huge
clean.
Success story.
It is a huge success story. Not all of these water farms are set up because the soil composition, you can't just put them anywhere.
Right.
So same thing, but you're utilizing both technologies to help try and curb these discharges. So it's very encouraging that we're still moving forward. We're still looking for solutions even after all these years.
Well, we can't just stand around and wring our hands, right?
We can't.
We have to be brave, and we have to continue to work on these things.
And I want to talk about some other things with you, but I do think let's let the listeners know the deep injection wells. We mentioned them. So explain the difference between an ASR and a deep injection well.
So deep injection wells go 3,000 feet down into the ground. They actually really, for visualization purposes, you could say that they go under the state of Florida, so to speak. They go so much deeper. They go into the karst boulder zone. And then there's a waterway that runs. We know how it runs because we utilize them for other things. It runs from the west coast over to the east side, and the water gets slowly but surely dispersed into the Atlantic Ocean. That river, so to speak, moves at the rate of about a mile per year. And when you put water down in a deep injection well, it's fresh water going into a saline environment. So what it does is it forms basically a freshwater bubble that slowly but surely dissipates around the edges as it moves slowly toward the Atlantic side. And I am supportive of them, and I'll tell you why. When you get to a spot where your only choice is releases like we're having right now that blow out the St. Lucie River and cause it to go even more fresh than it already is during the rainy season, killing our seagrasses, killing our oysters, causing serious stress on our ecosystem. When that's your only other choice, to me, it makes a whole lot more sense to put that freshwater bubble down deep in the earth and let it dissipate slowly but surely. It's all going to the same place. It's just a matter of, do you want it to go on the surface, collecting more pollution along the way and causing immediate harm? Or do we want to go ahead and acknowledge it's not the best solution, but hey, sometimes you have to make a choice between two not perfect solutions. And for me, that one has more hope in it.
And as you're speaking, I'm thinking the salinity is already negatively impacted here on the St. Lucie River. You know, oysters are already, they're starting to lose them. If you're discharging the fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean, I mean, I don't like either.
Right.
But you have a much greater bowl of water to discharge a little bit of fresh water as compared to the St. Lucie River taking so much of the fresh water.
Yeah,
on.
it's such a big slug.
It's a bigger impact to
And typically when we get the lake releases, we are also battling our own local watershed, which I will say has been one of the side effects of having a low lake for quite some time and having a drought. We did get to take a look at what happens to our St. Lucie River just because of the C23, the C24, the C44, our own local basin watershed. I mean, that drives salinities down to zero to begin with, and then you get LACO on top of it. So it's just a bad situation. I wish we had better answers, but
I know.
but
Yeah.
hopefully people can see that we are working on it. And I use a collective we, right? The science community and
Right.
the engineers and
Right.
all the agencies.
Right.
And of course, great advocates like you.
Oh, it's
yourself.
wonderful. Again, we're speaking with Nyla Pipes from One Florida Foundation, who has worked very hard. And, the name of your foundation is important. It's One Florida
Yes,
because all of Florida is connected by water.
absolutely. And our people all, we all need to thrive together. And we can't do that if we continue to, face this,
Right.
this adversity that is causing so many problems for
Everybody-
so many of us.
Everybody's worried just about their backyard. We have to look at Florida as an entire water system.
Well, particularly when you talk about the Everglades, right? I mean,
Right.
again, I'll remind people the headwaters where the Everglades actually begins is just south of Orlando. I mean, that's a
People
whole
don't realize
lot of
that,
people
right.
being
It
affected
is.
by water management in
It
the
is.
Everglades.
It is. So, Nyla, you just had an interesting visit from the White House sub-team on water quality. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was privileged to be invited on a field trip in Water Conservation Area 3A and the Big Cypress. And we got to take out people at the national level, the federal level, from the EPA and from FDA, just anybody involved federally with all the agencies there, of course, on water quality issues. And so we got to show them what it really looks like in the Everglades and tell them, what the problems are we're all working on. And it's so important to be able to do those field trips because then people get a feeling for what it is you're facing.
Yes. Yes.
So it was a really productive trip. We were out there, of course, we had the superintendent of Big Cypress National Park. We literally had, I'm sorry, I didn't bring my list of people. It was like 30 some people, various agency heads from DC. And of course, my Gladesmen friends. A lot of people don't realize that the Gladesmen are another protected culture in Everglades restoration. And so when I talk about the Gladesmen, I talk about the ladies and gentlemen who own camps and are grandfathered in to have hunting camps and the ability to spend time out there in the water conservation areas and the Big Cypress. And so the Gladesmen, donated their time, they donated their money in the form of buggy trips and airboat rides. And so we went out on the airboat rides and then we got to the levee and then we drove way deep into the Big Cypress and just spent some time talking and sharing our views on what's wrong with water management in Florida. Ron Bergeron happened to join us.
Yes.
We had state representation as well. And it was just a really great trip. And I encourage people to do more of that kind of thing. It gets back to that advocacy work and education. And if you call, if you're willing to put in the time and say, look, I've got airboats, I've got buggies, I've got, on the St. Lucie, we could do the same sort of thing. I've got, an ocean going vessel. I want to take you, from the locks all the way out and show you what happens to the reefs. If you do those sorts of trips and encourage people to really get to know your backyard, we always have to be cognizant that even here in the state of Florida, we have representatives in Tallahassee who live up in the Panhandle who have not seen our issues.
Right.
So those sorts of educational trips are just really powerful and really important, and they help us to move that football down the field and to get the funding that we need to continue these projects.
And it's so important on the state and the federal level. And I'm impressed that the sub-team came down. I don't know how that came about, but we need to keep educating everybody in Washington, D.C., because everybody around the United States has issues. We all heard about the water issues in Flint, Michigan, for example. So we need to be able to show our problems and let them hear our voice. So you know,
Absolutely.
kudos on this team.
Yes.
Do you see what do you see coming of that? Anything positive?
Well, being an election year, everybody's a little uncertain as to how things are going to work out. But I'm hopeful. A lot of the time, staff gets to stay in their positions, and I'm hopeful that some of the relationships we've built there will transition well, and that we can work together. If indeed we even have a transition. It's a strange time to be an American, isn't it?
It is a strange time. And we'll bring this up. President Trump actually visited Lake Okeechobee early on in his presidency. And that's the first president I ever remember coming there.
I did not get to speak with him then, but I was on the outside of the dike when he flew in and visited with some people that were, obviously on the guest list. But it was a great experience to see the excitement and the people, we had a great parade. We had people, lining up and lots of flag waving and Make Lake Great Again hats, which I happen to own one of. And, while we're on that topic, I just have to say kudos to the people who live in other parts of the system who are also doing the advocacy work, because that's really how we get this done together. So it was my privilege to be out there when President Trump came.
Right. Many voices certainly are a larger voice when they work collaboratively together. So
absolutely,
it's been exciting, and I do hope all that work continues as well.
Well, if I have anything to say about it, it will.
Good. I know you will. Nyla works very hard. Again, she's with One Florida Foundation. Nyla, you've served on RAC, which is the Water Resource Advisory Committee, for several years. I'm not sure how many, but at least what, 3 or 4?
I don't know exactly how many years it was, but I did serve under Governor Scott, then Governor Scott,
yes.
Senator Scott.
Yes.
And I'm fortunate because, again, it comes down to building relationships. During that time frame, not only was I privileged to be receiving on a regular basis all of those wonderful educational slideshows and presentations from the Water Management District. But it just also opened doors for me to be able to network with people and to build stronger, longer lasting relationships. If you see people once a month and you're there in an official capacity, it just sort of naturally does that.
Right. Absolutely. Let me ask you this as well, because the South Florida Water Management District Board has changed since you first started working with under, Governor Scott.
Again, we had a transition.
We had a big transition, completely new people. So how is that transition working as far as the water projects that were being worked on before the new board was installed?
So
2 minutes, and I hate to give you that little bit of time.
It's no problem. It's no problem. I understand we have a time schedule. I would say that after a pretty steep learning curve, our current water management district is really doing a great job. And I don't envy them, the learning curve, because it takes years to get to know this topic well inside and out.
And I think this is the first flooding issue they really have had to deal with since they've been installed. And I think it's probably that in itself is a huge learning curve.
Absolutely. Eye-opening. I mean, we're not talking about the easiest conversation in the state of Florida by any stretch of the imagination.
It is not, because they have to protect people's homes and lives from flooding. So
yep, absolutely.
And part of that is discharging to us, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's if they had another place to put the water, they would.
Right.
And I can say that with certainty. I've watched way too many years of it, and that's what we're all working on, and I'm confident that they're going to keep doing that alongside the rest of us, and that Governor DeSantis is going to continue to keep our Everglades budget healthy, and work on the other water quality issues. I know Senate Bill 712 was a great step in the right direction.
Nyla Pipes, One Florida Foundation, appreciate you coming in here today. I hope you'll come again and continue to give us water updates. It's always the top issue here on the Treasure Coast, but it should be throughout Florida as well, as you have said. So a lot of things are going on. There's a lot of different groups that are involved, but we certainly appreciate your voice and your updates and your advocacy. One Florida Foundation is a nonprofit organization. I'm sure Nyla can use any assistance. This gal goes out and works, putting her own money in, putting her own miles on her car. So
we're 100% volunteer for sure.
She's doing it for all of us. So look up One Florida Foundation if you can help her out. I know she'd greatly appreciate it. So Nyla, thanks again. I'm sure it'll be next year before we see you again, but you have a great one and great updates today.
Thank you.
Have items laying around taking up space that you just do not want anymore? We have a solution. Call the Stewart Downtown Auction to have your items picked up and sold back at auction, and the proceeds then can be distributed to you or to any of the local charities that you may designate. We have the bidders that want to buy your items. When you're serious about selling, so are we. Associate Auctions and Stewart Downtown Auction provide a complete solution to real estate and personal property assets throughout the Treasure Coast. Real auctions, real results. Associate Auctions and Stewart Downtown Auction with Casey Daniel, auctioneer. You can reach Casey at 772-291-2806. He's the best around, 772-291-2806. Tired of lines at the boat launch, sun damage, or not using your boat because of the hassle? Call Meridian Marina and Yacht Club because we do all the work so you can enjoy your boating lifestyle. Restore your boat inside, launch it with a wash with just 30 minutes notice, and rinse it down before putting it back. We do the work so you can enjoy your day on the water. Call us up at 772-221-8198 or visit us online at meridianmarina.com for more information. I'd like to remind everybody you can sign up for a weekly notification of who the special guest will be in the studio at my website, thecaseyingram.com. If you don't see that email, check your spam folder. Sometimes it ends up there. So in the studio this evening for the second half, I'm so excited. We always love to hear about new projects, new clubs, and what our youth are doing here in Martin County. And this evening we have Stacy Jones. She is the one who has taken on the project of the newest and latest and the only 4-H robotics club in Martin County.
That's right.
And with Stacy, we have her daughter Hannah as well, right in the back corner. She's kind of the star of the show all by herself. So appreciate you both coming in. I love the t-shirts, by the way. If you can see them on Facebook Live, you can see the logos. Spam on there. So tell us a little bit.
We're the good spam.
You're the good spam. Yes, that's right. There is bad spam. You guys are not. Well, that's a Superman spam there.
This is. And we've been around since 1997, believe it or not.
1997.
I know.
So your roots itself reach further than Martin County. You decided to bring the robotics to Martin County.
No, actually, Martin County, we started it here.
You did?
In 1997, my husband came home and he said, hey, I want to help some high school kids. And I went, okay,
Really?
sure. He's like, it'll be just a couple of hours, a week. That was 23 years ago. So you
other
started
people, the robotics team in the county,
We
and
did.
now you're branching it to the 4-H clubs.
Well, we've actually asked 4-H to please come and share the love with us.
Yes.
Because we need 4-H. I've been a part of 4-H for many, many years. My
Yes.
kids have been a part of 4-H. We do the other 4-H. We don't do animals.
Okay.
We do the other stuff. We do Lego. We grow all kinds of crops or that kind of thing. But we do that part of 4-H, which I love. It's an amazing group of people, amazing company, amazing corporation that's been around for many, many years. And so finally this year, I kind of worked with Natalie Parknell from 4-H Extension Office, and she kindly gave me a lot of help of how to get Martin County's robotics team to become a 4-H program, which we love. It's an amazing part of what Martin County is all about.
You can certainly reach a lot more students, and that's always good. Now, if I recall, this is going to go back a few years, and forgive me if my memory is wrong, but didn't the robotics team lead the Macy's Day Parade?
Yes, we did. 2013.
See, it was a few years ago. I remember that.
You know what? It may be a few years ago for you guys, but for us, it was just like yesterday.
It's a big deal.
We did. We built a robot, and we did such a great job. They asked us to lead the Macy's Parade with 3 other robots from all around the country. And one of our robots got to shoot the confetti at the very beginning.
How cool is that?
It was cool. And the reason why we got to do that is because in 2012, we were the world champions.
Oh, my goodness.
So we
Okay.
actually won the championship. We beat teams from NASA, General Motors, and Canada.
What was the robot?
The robot was a basketball playing robot
Oh, my goodness.
named Crumb, and we still have him. You can come visit him at the Martin County Fairgrounds.
Oh, my gosh.
He's a beautiful robot with big googly eyes, and he's part of our hearts. Still runs once in a while, but he's an older robot now. But we love him so much, and because of him, we put our Martin County on the map, which is fantastic.
Oh, it's hugely on the map. Again, we're
Yes.
speaking with Stacy Jones, her daughter, Hannah. Hannah, what do you think about the robotics club?
I love it. This is my 3rd year on the team. I'm a junior in high school, and I've been doing it basically since birth, thanks to, genetics, I guess.
Of course. Mom kind of helped you steer you in the right direction, so to speak. What is the favorite robot you've worked on?
I personally, I don't really mess with the robots. Don't trust myself. I work on the other side of it. I do marketing and demonstrations, and I write essays and give presentations to judges. My favorite robot would probably have to be 2016. It was a catapult robot that threw this giant foam ball up into a tower.
Ooh.
It was a medieval theme. It was very fun.
Well, Hannah, you just brought up a lot of other things besides building robots that happens in the club. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, writing essays and advertising, this sounds like a full business venture.
It is. We call SPAM a little business because it basically is. There's money coming in, money coming out, because you have to pay for the stuff to build the robots, and you have to get sponsorships to build the robots. And I work on something called Chairman's, which is an award that you can earn. We say earn instead of win because it's something you work towards. And you have to write an essay, executive summary, make a presentation and a video to give to judges. And we actually won last year, which was something I'm very proud of because I worked on it. And we won back in 2016 as well. So it's kind of a legacy thing.
Yeah, that's a really big thing to be proud of, actually.
It is. It's the most prestigious award in the program.
Is it really? So when you say you won, who are you competing against? I'm sure
any
there's
other team that applies.
any other team.
There's teams all over the world, in every continent,
Wow.
every country.
So this is a
Except for
worldwide.
Except for
Is that okay?
there's not really enough people for there to be
Right.
a team there.
We send them there. That's the only people that are there. So that is absolutely astounding. That's congratulations. It's very impressive. So how many students are involved here locally?
So in Martin County, we normally run around 50 students because if you are a high school student in Martin County, you can belong to SPAM. Homeschoolers, private schools, any of the high schools, we love our high school students and 14-year-olds and up. And then this year, of course, with COVID, it's been a little bit difficult, but we are so very blessed because we're part of 4-H. We are now allowed to be in the Martin County Fairgrounds. So we are in Building B.
Okay.
Jay Spicer is our hero. He gave us a home when we didn't have a home.
Jay is like it. He's a good guy. Jay Spicer.
And not to say
huge
that
shout out.
not to say the Martin County School Board was not our love. We love them to pieces, but we just could not meet at South Fork just because of the COVID, and the building that we're in is about almost a little bit bigger than your building here. So you can imagine having 50 kids in this room.
That is pretty small.
With mentors. We have about 20 to 25 mentors.
That's pretty small.
Plus machines. It's extremely small. It's about the
Right.
size of a double wide.
Right.
And that going to the Building B at the fairgrounds is like a palace. It is no air conditioning. We have lots and lots of fans, both people and mechanical. But we have a huge, it's a huge space, and we're so blessed. And because we're part of 4-H, they're allowing us to meet there. We do social distancing. We wear masks. We keep far apart. We have both bay doors open. It's beautiful. It's an amazing place for us.
So can you tell us a little bit about what they're working on this year for robots?
Yes, and actually the game this year is a continuation of last year's game because we got to Orlando ready to compete in March, and we got on the floor. Did not get the robot wheels on the floor, but we did get on the floor, and they closed down the competition because of COVID.
Oh, no.
So heartbroken kids, heartbroken mentors.
Right.
And so we had to go home with not competing. So they have allowed us to replay this year. So we are using our same robot, which is called OB1. So if you put OB1 backwards, it is 180, which is our team number.
Okay.
And it's also a Star Wars reference. So
It is. That's what I thought.
makes me happier.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan. And so it's a really, it's a really good robot. It can be better. So they're allowing us the next 5 months. Normally, we have 6 weeks to build a robot.
Oh, my goodness.
Now we have 5 months. So it's almost to the point where, what else can we do? So the kids are actually working on that. They're doing a spin dexter to make the balls go faster and aim. And the robot has to hang itself at the end on a big bar. It's very exciting.
They're juicing it up.
Yes. Yes. It's almost like battle bots, but we say we're battle bots, gentle battle bots. We do a lot of gracious professionalism, which is our main point for FIRST and SPAM. We compete like crazy, but we treat each other with respect. And that is the difference between us and pretty much any other robotics competition out there.
So as you're speaking to students that might be interested in joining the robotics team, you don't have to be somebody that just wants to build robots. Because Hannah here was very interested in joining the team, but she said, keep me away from the robots.
I don't touch myself near sharp objects.
Sharp objects.
She says that, but what's your position on the team?
I am the safety captain. So basically, I just yell at everybody else to make sure they're staying safe.
You make sure that they don't have a sharp object.
Well, she's
injures
very,
himself.
very good about keeping, and knock on wood, we've gone 23 years with no
major
injuries.
incidents.
That is good. That is good.
Imagine kids with machines and tools and
Right.
CNC machines and lathes and all kinds of fun things that cut things.
You and your husband were brave people, but look what you've done.
What else would we be doing? I mean,
You know?
golf? Not really. That's not my thing.
This is more fun, and you certainly have got it down to a
Well,
science.
one of the best things that I do as a teacher is I tell people there's $81 million worth of scholarships for these kids.
Wow,
I mean, where else can they go to get that much money to pay for college?
that is incredible.
And that is available to them. So, yeah.
Is
I'm
that something the
excited.
team splits up if they are to win, or is this
No,
individual
it's actually
scholarships?
anybody in part of First Robotics, which is our lead organization, can apply and they can get a scholarship. My two older ones, my oldest daughter is at USF, and she is wanting to be an industrial engineer. She got a full ride. My
Wow.
son's at UCF, and he almost got a full ride, but he likes to do things a little harder than everybody else.
It's incredible.
But he's doing mechatronics now, which is robotics.
That is fabulous.
So,
And that's where the world is going as well. I mean,
it is.
for example, we just had the minimum wage that's going up in Florida, $15 an hour. So I'm expecting we're going to see more automated, self-checkout systems at the
Mhm.
fast food restaurants and grocery stores. And, that's where businesses are going to try and cut back
Well,
on costs.
Even our
automation.
agriculture. I mean, look at where our agriculture is now with 4-H. I mean, that's our beautiful partnership. They're going into drones and AI and in robotics, and that's how to keep this, Martin County alive with our agriculture. And that's a beautiful relationship that we have. So we're very excited with that, and it gives the kids a real world. What they can do in the real world.
So do you actually have a treasurer, somebody keeping books, accounting?
We have a
Excellent.
student board
Okay.
and a matching adult board.
Okay. So as you're recruiting students, how do you find them? I know you said any high school student, we want them, but how are you finding them?
Spamrobotics.com, which is an easy website that you can go there. We have our calendar up and we invite anybody to come and visit. We are at Building B at the Martin County Fairgrounds, and we meet on Monday nights from 6 to 8:30. And pretty much it's open. We do ask for safety reasons, safety glasses and masks. We do have safety glasses and masks that you can have at the door. We do temperature checks, and we also ask you please to wear closed-toed shoes because robots are 140 pounds.
Oh, yes.
And no toes, no
that
boo-boos.
could squish your toes.
And they are very fast, and they are run just like a kid would do the remote control of their games. So
I imagine you have a lot of
Xbox.
RC hobby type things too.
yeah,
Yes,
Xboxes are amazing.
it's a lot of fun.
It is.
And with your new space, you actually have room to grow the membership.
We do. And we actually have a full field happening right now. So you can actually see what a full field will look like with robots running on it.
So when you say a full field, describe what that is.
A full field is about the size of a basketball court, which is the size we need
Okay.
for our build space. And then robots are actually running. So you imagine 120-pound robots. The kids are remote controlling it. They're running around, throwing balls, picking up things, hanging. They're doing all kinds of things. So it can be very, very busy.
It sounds like they have a lot of fun.
It
Now,
is.
I was envisioning you were working on one robot, but it sounds like there might be more than one that you're working on at a time.
Right. So because OB1 is pretty much already built, we actually started another robotics team. So First Tech Challenge is a 40-pound robot. It's a 40-pound competition. And we actually have our new rookies. We have, I think, 12 rookies, something like that, 10 to 12 rookies that are actually working on this new robot. And they're actually running their robot. And they got 2 robots running on Monday night.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. It's a lot of fun.
Busy. It's really good.
How do you get your items and your products donated to
Oh,
build the
that's
robots?
a great question. We have a lot of wonderful sponsors. So if you go to our website, you'll see our sponsors. FP&L is one of our big sponsors, Rockwell Collins, United Technology, Smith's Interconnect. Those are all of our local sponsors, and they love us. And then we have our family sponsors, Dr. Lively. He's one of
Yes.
our favorite sponsors in all the world. And he gives every year. All About Achieving is one of our sponsors. So, we mom and pops and grandparents. So whatever money they can give us, we are able to purchase things and able to get the kids to travel. And it's expensive. These kids are traveling to usually Orlando for competition, usually South Florida for a competition, and then Houston for Worlds.
Oh my goodness.
It's very costly.
I was going to ask, how many competitions throughout the year do you have?
Yeah.
And so there's the three of them.
It's 3. Mm-hmm.
And with those competitions, that's what moves you on to the world competition, the final one.
Exactly. We have to win to go. And in 23 years, we've won every year except 2015, which we don't talk about.
That's impressive. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, so, we don't talk about that yet. But no, I mean, it's amazing legacy that we have and the sustainability of what we're working for.
The pressure to keep it up, right, Hannah? Come on, kids.
A little intimidating because my brother and my sister, who are now off in college, were captain of the student board of the team, and I'm just sitting here like, hi. Maybe next year.
Following in the footsteps. You got a couple years to move up to captain if you so desire and want to do that. What is your favorite part about being a part of the robotics club?
Definitely the people you get to meet. You get to meet everyone from everywhere. At World Competitions this year, I got to meet this really cool person from Israel, and you get to meet a bunch of people from all over the world at Worlds. And then there's also the people on the team who you get to meet. Most of my friends are from SPAM, so
that's incredible. So how many teams come to the Worlds? I mean, when you say there's a lot.
Yeah, so it depends. There's 4 different programs, and they start all the way from 4 or 5-year-olds, which uses Lego, and then they go all the way up to First Tech Challenge, the 40-pound robot, to the big robot, which is ours, first robotics competition. Okay. And pretty much there's 98 countries represented.
Wow.
And so in each of the competitions, they have different fields, different groups, and then they go on from there. And then you want to get to the very big one, which is Einstein, and you want to compete on Einstein. And we have been very blessed in our 23 years to get to Einstein twice. So it's a good feeling, but we want to keep doing it. So, and we're always looking for sponsors. So if anybody wants to contact us through the spamrobotics.com, we can definitely talk to them about sponsoring a team and sponsoring these kids.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's a pretty expensive but important technology to learn here. So, I mean, I can see it is expensive for the kids, but it is the future.
Well, we pay a lot for the kids. We ask them to pay $200 to register as on the team, and then that's it.
Okay.
And then we pay the rest. And if they want to go on a trip, we usually pay most of it. They pay usually about $100 to $200, and we pay the rest. So we're very, very good to our kids. And
it is. But the more you can help, it'd be nice if they didn't have to pay it all.
It would be wonderful. That's a
they
dream.
Could just join. I know. So you never know. It might happen. So you said that you meet every Monday night. Is that all year round?
It normally is not, but because of COVID, we need to get on it first and get all these, all the things that we have to learn how to do now, new things.
Right.
And so we did start early. But normally January 9th is our kickoff, and they give the game to everybody in the entire universe.
Oh my gosh.
So every country gets the game at the exact same time on January 9th.
So it's like a National Robotics that says this is going to be, you say the game is like a theme?
Yep. It's the theme, and it's the game. And Star Wars is Force for Change is one of our sponsors.
Okay.
So it's all based on Star Wars.
That's incredible. That's going to be a lot of fun. So when is the first contest that you go to?
First one is going to probably be in May because we've pushed it back because of the season.
Okay.
It's normally in March.
Okay. And where do you go after that?
Houston, which is in July.
And then the finals is...
That's it. Houston's our finals.
Okay.
It's the Worlds.
So I'm missing one. You said there was 3.
I'm not sure if they're actually going to have South Florida this year because of COVID.
Oh, dear.
Palm Beach County has kind of shut the whole everything down, but it's okay.
Okay.
We'll still win in Orlando.
We'll still have 2 of them.
We have a good team.
Are you looking forward to traveling, Hannah?
Oh, I love the bus rides. They're so fun.
That's a lot of... Mom says, no, not so much.
It's not fun.
18 hours.
Different perspectives of a different generation.
Exactly.
So, and I'm sure it's just a ton of fun, like you said, to meet people from all over the United States as well as the
Some
world.
of our best friends.
Isn't that incredible? You stay in touch, I'm sure, through the computers and everything. So if folks want to join again, they need to contact you, Spam.
go to spamrobotics.com and press contact, and it gets sent straight to me.
Stacy, this is an amazing organization you have built up over the years. I didn't realize you and your husband had started this. I'm so
One of the
honored to
ones
meet you.
starting it.
Were you- well, you had the idea.
We were babies back then. We had no idea what we were
Well,
doing.
that's when you have energy to do something like this.
True.
So, and look what it's blossomed into. So this is very exciting. Wish you guys well. I hope you,
Thank you.
maybe let us know how you did after the
Well,
finals, because I have good feelings. I mean, Martin County always does well.
Martin
Macy's Day
County
Parade
has
is
got a name
amazing.
for itself all over the world. They know Martin County.
It does. I mean, and they do. And part of that is because of the Macy's Day Parade. It's the first time I had heard of you as I just moved to Florida. And I was like, oh my goodness, our own Martin County is leading the Macy's Day Parade. I was just so proud of your kids.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So it's huge.
And thank you. Thank you for doing this for us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. The more we can get the word out, the better. And I'm so proud. Jay Spicer, again, huge shout out to you. He's a great guy.
Exactly.
And I know he's wonderful to help out with these 4-H
Martin
groups
County
here.
Martin County Association.
Yes.
We could not do it without them because there was nowhere for us to meet. So
And
thank
now you do.
goodness.
And that was a big problem. I remember when that came up here
We're
maybe
still
2
looking
years
for
ago.
a new home. So if anybody knows of a location, I'm always looking.
Jay, there's a lot of property out there by Indiantown. Hint, hint. So next week, we're going to actually have an Indiantown update on, and that's going to be with Eric Miller. We're going to be talking about Robert Burns and his connections there. So we had promised we were going to do that from the last show in the end of October, and we ran out of time, and Eric has done a lot of follow-up and investigative work on that story. So that'll be next week here Tuesday. Make sure you tune in. I'll be on hiatus through December. We'll have best of shows, but we'll be back in January, back on air and ready for a new year. In the meantime, wish you luck. Hannah, thank you so much. A pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks
Stacy,
for having us.
Always
my
wonderful.
pleasure. My pleasure. Stacy, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.